Week 3 of Back to Biz Basics, we are being asked to create a table in this week's project. Very cool. Should be easy. Some things to consider when it comes to building a table in Flourish. Remember, I'm going to say this over and over again, that you've got to do a lot of your data prep, almost all of your data prep in whatever tool you're using, and then bring in the final data set into Flourish. So here's the data that we're given from the Back to Biz Basics team. We've got HBCU, historically black colleges and universities data. We've got the college, the link to the university, the number of undergrads, graduates, their mascot, the tuitions, in-state, out-of-state, room and board, percent men, percent women, and then some other data here. So let's go over to Flourish. I already have the table, so I'm going to show you what we're going to create. This is what we want to create. We've got your fairly straightforward table with the linked universities over here. So actually, when you click, you can actually go over to that university. And then we're just going to use the undergrad population, grad population, the tuition numbers, and then the share of men and women in these universities. So that's what we're going to create. So let's open, I like to right click and open a new tab so I can see that folder area, a new visualization. And we're brought to the entire Flourish library. We're going to scroll down to find tables. It's towards the bottom here, and we're just going to create a default table here. So we're just going to get started right away. With that, I'll go to data, and I'm just going to upload my own data. So I'm going to bring in the raw data here. I've got the data. I'm going to keep all those settings. I'm going to import this. I brought this in directly from data.world, and of course, you're going to want to go get that. All right, so here's our data brought in. Remember, it's kind of important to check what's being brought in or how Flourish is viewing it. This is text. This is text. This is brought in as a number. These are brought in as numbers. And this is brought in as text. This is brought in as text. I actually don't quite understand the coloring here because ideally what I'd want is the numbers. Stuff written as numbers is a different color than the text, but it's because they're all being read into the table. So if I take off, say, the letter A, you can see that turns gray. But I think I'd kind of like to see maybe different colors, or maybe these boxes could be different colors. I don't know. Just a thought, just things to think about. So let's just see. Let's put the A back in. Let's see what we've got brought in over here. Okay, we've got a nice table here. Notice that it's right to left, scroll, and then different pages. So what I want for this is just to have one big, long table. But I don't want to use all these columns. So let's go back to our data and figure out what columns we want. So what I want here is I want column A, I want the college. I want the undergrad population and the graduate population. I want the in-state tuition, the out-of-state tuition, percent men, percent women, and I want room and board. So those are the columns I'm going to bring in. Now, of course, I typed all those, and it did a little prompt to sort of group them together for me, which is great. I could do this back in Excel, right? I could sort of organize my columns. Maybe it would make life a little bit easier over here. It's whatever works for you. Let's go back to our preview and see what we got. Okay, so we're getting a little bit closer here. We need to make a few changes to get this table sort of up and running. First thing, again, I want one table here. So in the prompt, I'm just going to make this like 1,000, right? And so I'm good. I've got that. I've got one long table, right? I'm thinking about this on a website. So just one long table, sort of infinite scroll. I'm good to go. All right, great. That's the first. Let's change some of the text here. So in table cell styles, what I want to do is these labels, the column headers, to be right aligned with my numbers. So I'm going to go over to text and I'm going to say, put the text at the end and put it at the end like that. Now here's the thing. It's either left aligned or right aligned, all of it. So what I want really is my first column to be left aligned like this. And then I want the numbers to be right aligned and the column titles to be right aligned with it. But it's kind of all or nothing. So I'm going to do end and end, even though I don't love that. So that's something to sort of consider. But that you just kind of can't control some of these things. Okay, so a little annoying kind of thing, but what are you going to do? All right, next thing I want to do is I want to change the colors of the cells. Okay, so I want to remember, if I go back to my original, I want to have these sort of background colors for these two. So what we're going to do is, if we go into our colors here, it's going to tell us, or it's prompt us for our foreground color and our background color. And it's fairly simple. You can see right here in the window, you're going to put the hex code for the cell color, // hex code for the text color, colon, and then the text in the cell. So, or the name of the column. So for me, what I want to do is I'm going to grab this gray color for the background, and then I'm going to use black, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in this case, I just want to apply it to everything. And instead of typing, I can just go copy and paste this color, that text right there. And I get a gray color like that. So all I did here was really just follow what's going on in that little helper, and that works great. Okay, so I'm going to do something similar for the grad population, and I think here I can just change grad. Yep, there we go. And for the next few columns, for the tuition numbers, I want to change those as well. So here I'm going to use a different color, EADC. And I want the text also to be black. So I'm going to leave that. I'm going to use this little colon, asterisk, colon. And then I'll put in-state tuition. That's looking good. And I'm just going to copy and paste. And I'll go back over here. It is nice that I could just copy and paste over here. I guess it is a little slightly annoying, maybe, if you are working in sort of a coding language and then bringing stuff over to Flourish to sort of change those, where the column heads are going to have to be the actual words. So I don't know whether that's good or bad, but it just is what it is. Okay, so as you can see, I've got those all set up. That's looking really good. Let's change our headers. So header cell styles, what do I want here? I've got all this is kind of set up, but I would like to have a little bit of a border at the bottom of that first row. That looks good. I'm going to make it a little thinner, maybe 1.5. I don't know if the 0.5 actually works. I don't know if that mattered, but I do like that little line there. So that's looking good. All right, we're just making our way here. I'm just really kind of making my way through the menus. Mini bar charts. Again, I want I want to make a little bar chart for the gender split here. So I'm going to go to mini bar charts. This is I guess this is just the default there. So I've got %men and %women. If I tab out, there we go. I got a little bar chart. Now, I don't want that vote share to be named, so I want this to be men/women. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. Let's make this a stack %, because those are percentages. So that's going to fill up the entire row, which is really nice. And let's add some colors here. And %men, I'm going to make this 195583. And for %women, I want to make this E79E0D. And that should give me a blue and an orange color for men and women. That's looking pretty good. And then what about our labels? Let's put our labels right on there. So let's put our labels right on that chart so we can see it. And that gives me a nice little bar chart right in this chart, or in this table. Now we get to something, we get into sort of like a little bit more complicated. So what I'm going to do, because what I want to do is format the numbers, and so things get a little bit more complicated here. So I'm going to pause here. Or actually, I'm not going to pause. I'm going to do one more thing. I want room and board to be next to out-of-state tuition. And to do that, all I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here to my data, and I'm going to make this F to G, comma, K, H to I. And I'm just changing the order in over here. And when I go back, that's moved over. So all I did was just change the order in the call in the data tab. So I'm going to pause here. you should be able to create this basic table, right? All we did was brought the data in, we added background colors to those 5 columns, and then we created this inline mini bar charts in the mini bar chart header. So make this table, and then when you come back, I'm gonna talk about formatting the numbers, right? Because what I want for these numbers is I don't want these decimal places here, and I want these to have dollar signs on them, and I don't want them here. And then I want to make these names of these colleges and universities, I want to make them clickable. I want to be able to link on them. So I'm going to break here, work on this, and then come on back. Okay, welcome back. Hopefully you got this table. Now we're going to extend it just a little bit. What I want to do is change the number format. And this is another thing that shows up in Flourish where it's sort of like an all or nothing situation. So let's go to number format. What I want to do here is change the numbers. What I want is commas here. I've got commas all set up, but I don't want those decimal places. So let's turn that off. And whoops, I don't want the decimal places. And I need to tell it which columns to format. And so I want all of these to format. So let's just go in and do some copying and pasting. So undergrad population, grad population, and then the tuition numbers. I'm going to go over here, out-of-state tuition, and then room and board. So those are the columns that I want formatted. So I've got rid of the decimals, but that also gets rid of the commas. So I want the commas in there, right? So you know, I'm applying this formatting, but you notice that the commas have left. Well, the commas have left here because of this little toggle, hide 1,000 separated below 10,000. So if I turn that off, I get my commas back. So that's much better. So I definitely want that. But what I want here is I want there to be dollar signs. I want there to be dollar signs on these numbers. And if I do a dollar sign under prefix, it adds it to all of it. So again, this is kind of like all or nothing, right? Either if I delete the first two, if I delete those, cut those out, it puts the decimals back on. But then I could put my dollar sign on. So it's like I can't quite get exactly what I want. And so I think I figured out the way to sort of address this, which is to go back to the data. And so if I go back to the data and adjust the data, it's going to work out. So let's go back to the data. And what I'm going to do here for in-state tuition and out-of-state tuition, I'm going to convert this. First, I'm going to convert it to a number. And then I'm going to format this with currency. Oh, it's already given me that dollar sign. And then same thing with room and board. It's brought it in not as text, not as a number. So I'm going to change that to a number. And so that's looking pretty good. And now what I can do, and I read this in earlier, but I'm just going to copy and paste now. I didn't do any sorting to the data in the window, so I can just come back. Now here's a key thing. I'm going to paste, pause. Really important here. Go to settings and uncheck the box, automatically choose columns. We've done all this work on the right side to set the columns exactly where we want them. If we don't uncheck this box, it overwrites it. It overwrites all those decisions. So now I can paste it and all of our decisions are staying. But if you don't uncheck that, you kind of have to start over again in selecting your columns. So let's go back and see what we've got here. So now what we can do is, So what I need to do is not bring this in as numbers, but bring this in now as text. So this is what I do. If I bring these three in, not as numbers, but as text. Bring this over here to room and board. Now what you're going to see is when I go here, I've got my dollar signs. So that's a little bit of kind of a hack, right? Is to get these numbers the way I want them, formatted the way I like. They're still right aligned. They have the commas. They have the dollar signs. But I basically just did all the formatting in Excel and then brought them as text. And that way they can show up. Okay. Last thing to do is to add links to these college names. And if we go back to our file, you'll see that they've given us the link here, which is great. And what's really nice about Flourish is that you can use Markdown to do some custom tweaking. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to insert a new column. And all I'm going to do, what I need to do, and I'm going to zoom in here so you can see, what I need to do to get a linkable text in my table is to have something that looks like this. I'm going to have something, this is going to be, let's say the college name in solid brackets. And then I'm going to have the URL in open close parentheses. So that's what I need to have here. So, and we're going to do this in Excel and then bring this in as data. So I'm just going to call this column link, and I'm going to do this, a little concatenation here in Excel. So I'm going to grab the name of the university. I'm actually going to put in quotation marks the solid bracket and the name of the university and a closed solid bracket. And I'm also going to include my open parentheses, close the quotation marks, and the URL, and close the parentheses. So I have to put that text right in open and close parentheses. If you don't know how to do this, I have a video in my Excel tutorial playlist on this YouTube channel. You can learn how to do this concatenation. But this is an easy way to do it. So now what I get here is you can see the name of the university in brackets, in closed brackets, and then the URL in parentheses. And so I'm just going to paste that down, and I'm going to copy this whole column over back to my data. I'll put it in the same spot. Let's just insert a column to the left, and let's paste it in. And that's going to be the link. So that's going to be the link we're going to use. So what we're going to do now is change column A to column C. And you see that now is pink. Go to preview and look at that. Using the Markdown language, we have links directly to all of these universities set up in our table because they're linkable texts. So that's how you create a table. And you can go in, of course, and you could change some of the layout if you want to have a different background. Obviously you want to have a title here. We can call this HBCU students and tuition data. Not a very exciting title, but we can get that right there and click out of that. And of course, the search is already set up. The search just appears. You can change some of the pieces in the search, but I haven't really found a reason to do that yet. And of course, if you didn't want to have all these colleges, oh, I forgot. This is the last thing. You see, we've got all these extra rows down here. That's because I copied and pasted. And so what I want to do is go back over to Flourish. And this is probably a reason to bring your data in through the upload rather than doing it the way I did it, which is copy and pasting. But if I remove those that are, there we go. Now you should see, if I scroll down, now I'm at the bottom. Xavier University of Louisiana is my last college. So that's how you make a table in Flourish. Sorry, I'm just looking. I'm seeing one more thing. I want to change this word link to college. Or I would maybe call it college and university. That might be better. Or college or university would be better. There we go. And now I go to preview, and that's all set. So that's how you create a text table with little bar charts in it. You can see the Markdown language is great to be able to do some clickable links in your text table. I'll put a link to the Flourish tutorial where I learned how to do that. Some things here that I don't love. I'd love to be able to change some of these headers, specifically control their alignment. And I would like this first column to be left aligned and my other columns to be right aligned. But this is week 3 of Back to Viz Basics. Make sure you share your visualization. Let me know how it's going. Let me know if you have any questions. Until week 4, I hope you're enjoying this project. So thanks for tuning in.